Is up, fantasy football fools? We are back for the week 3 recap. The season is well underway at this point, and I know we've got some people panicking now, especially after we have officially gotten rid of the average scoring that we started the season with, as you are all aware of now, and we are moving to a different approach. We're going to do the second bracket with the most points teams in it instead. And with that also comes the deletion of the mini game. So we will not be doing our regular mini game roll. That is now concluded, and maybe see it again another season. But those are just some quick league updates. Jacob, how you feeling after week 3?
I'm feeling great. We got me and Chris's matchup, first one we're going to talk about, and you could see it was decided by less than half a point, which is a catch. So if all Chris needed was a catch from anybody on his squad, and he would have beat me. So yeah, it was a great Monday night. I've had 2 great Monday nights in a row. Diggs put up 38 to win me the game last 2 weeks ago, and then now Saquon didn't do just enough to get me the win. So I'm glad I got the win, but the score doesn't really excite me too much. 77.78 is not the best, but I'm not too worried because if you see my bench, I just literally played every wrong person I could have. Running backs were wrong. My receivers were wrong. My quarterback was wrong. My defense was wrong. Just like everything that I could have chosen was wrong. So I'm not too worried about my low scores. I made some lineup changes this week against Dom. I just really hope Joe Mixon can kind of find his footing. He had a really good week 1, but the last 2 weeks have been bad. His game starts in about 30 minutes, so hopefully he can get me at least double digits.
It's all going to T. Higgins tonight, baby.
I need double digits from Joe. He needs to step it up because I think with Joe Mixon stepping it up, I think my team is pretty scary. I think I said this on the power rankings. I think I do have the best 1-2 punch in receiver. I know Stephon Diggs is the number 1 receiver so far this year. And then Christian Kirk is the number 6 one. Yeah, number 6. And we'll see Jimmy's because Jimmy's really good with Cooper Kupp and St. Brown. I don't know what his rankings are, but 1 and 6 for Diggs and Kirk is really good. And that is what's keeping me afloat.
Yeah, you're over here getting hype about this win, but 77 points, not great. I don't think you would have beat hardly anyone else in the league. You were very fortunate to be playing Chris. I did make the joke this weekend that it's pretty crazy how I put up a 119, you drop a 130 bomb on me in week 2, and then the next week you put up a 77. That's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, you really just squeaked by. It all came down to that Monday night game with Saquon in there, and man, what a thrilling finish to this toilet bowl here. But congrats on the win. You're still sitting better than I am record wise, so good win.
Yeah, and it's just before we move on, Chris's team. How do you feel about Chris's team? What's your thoughts on just his team individually?
I'm definitely not scared of Chris's team. I think I talked about it last week. But if I think Chris's team has a lot of potential, but it just hasn't shown it. And also if he doesn't get another quarterback in there immediately, I don't even know. Like, he's basically just shooting himself in the foot at week in and week out by starting Justin Fields. The guy is just not getting very many pass attempts per game, for one. For two, he's not executing very well yet. Listen, I'm a big believer in Justin Fields, Chris. Believe me, I am. But in fantasy, I don't know, man. I think at this point we got to be thinking about a new QB. But back to his team, like I said, I think it's got a lot of potential. But the way that it's been going so far for him, I ain't scared of this team right now, unless that running back duo can be the double trouble that it should be. But so far, Christian McCaffrey just ain't pulling his weight, and Saquon's doing it all himself, and it's obviously not doing Chris many favors. But that quarterback spot, probably got to do something there. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And then Allen Robinson, I know we were at basketball yesterday or Tuesday, and he almost played Cooper instead of Robinson. And if he did that, it would have been an easy win for him. So glad he didn't. But yeah, A-Rob just had that one touchdown game too. I have him in my other league, and he hasn't looked that well or that good all year with the Rams offense. And the Rams offense hasn't even really looked that good, to be honest, except for Cooper Kupp. But anyway, we'll move on to the Chewy and Ryan matchup. I'll let you take over on your team. On how do you feel? How you did this week or last week?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I got my first actual win of the season. Not for lack of trying. I've been putting up pretty decent scores every week, but I finally got my first win. DeAndre Swift goes down though, and that definitely hurt. If he would have played a full game, I think my score would make me feel a little bit better. But Lamar, I mean, just putting my team on his fucking back for like the second week in a row. I mean, 240 balls back to back. The guy is trying to get paid. That's exactly why I drafted him. And so far, it has been paying off nicely. I think I was talking to you and Lubasi. This is like the earliest I've ever drafted a quarterback, I think, in a long time. And it is paying dividends. Lamar Jackson is currently my MVP. And I hope he can continue. But, yeah, we got a few positions here that are not looking great with Swift out. And obviously my tight end's been a problem all year. And also my kicker and defense. But you know what? I said it last week. I got the core. If those three positions, the tight end, kicker, and defense, if that's the biggest thing I got to worry about all year, so be it. I still feel good about this team moving forward. Ready to play Lubasi this week. Chewy's team just not great. What do you think of that?
Yeah, Chewy's made a lot of changes. When we go to the trades, we'll probably do the trades after we talk about every team, just so it's probably easier just to do that. But yeah, this team looks a lot different now. Herbert's hurt, but I think he's coming, or he's going to play again. But that rib injury is just going to be just not fun to play with, especially as a quarterback, because you're tweaking your hips and all that all the time. So I don't know how that's going to work. But yeah, Eckler has not. The biggest thing about this is I don't know if it's a surprise or not, but Eckler just hasn't done all that great for what was he, a seventh pick? Sixth pick. And I really can't talk because Mixon hasn't done great, but I don't know. Eckler just doesn't look as good as he once was. And you said this on the first podcast that he said he wanted less touches, but even with the touches he's getting, just doesn't look good with the rushing attack. I mean, he's always going to be that reception guy that you really want. But he's going to have to pick it up with these carries. Averaging less than three a carry is not great for the type of running back he is and can be.
And let it be known, they just lost one of their best linemen this week, too, and he is now on IR, and that is definitely not going to help.
Yeah, and he's gone for the year. I think he tore his tricep or bicep, one of the two. But yeah, I said this on the power rankings. I think Herbert and Eckler, as far as the Chargers go, this is how far Chewy's going to go. And right now it's just not doing well, and I don't even know if it's going to pick up just because of what we said with injuries. I know Keenan Allen, I think, is coming back, so that's good for Herbert. But the rest of his team, I know he no, he didn't trade any of those. He traded DJ Moore. I don't know, he did some more trades, but it still is not scary. I mean, CD did pretty well, and I think with Dak back, I think he'll be a good top 10, 15 wide receiver, but I don't know if Dak can stay healthy. I don't know. This team is just not scary. I don't really love the way the team has played so far. I think he's going to get better. I don't think he's an 0-3 team. I think he'll, get some wins, but right now it's not looking good to be Chewy right now.
Yeah, well, he's got James this week, so 2 0-3 teams. One of them's coming out of there with a dub. We'll see if Chewy's newly constructed team can pull it off. And speaking of, we got James right here who takes an even tougher L than Chris did because he only put up 67 points. What do you think of this team?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his two running backs, I think probably one of the best two running backs in the league. I know Lubasi to the right did pretty well too with the running backs, but Chubb and Pierce looked really good against the Bears. And Chubb is, I think, the leading running back this year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's the best running back in fantasy perspective. But the rest of his team is just tough. But this is another guy who did a lot of trades. So this team that we're looking at right now is not what his team's going to be against Chewy this week. And I don't know. That -6 for the Chargers D really takes this down. Let's say they get a 6. I mean, that's only 12 points, but at least it's kind of more respectable 80 points that James gets. But you don't really expect the Chargers D has a pretty good. Yeah, just like the Chargers team as a whole has just so underperformed with their offense and their defense. I know Lubasi's a big Chargers fan and he's hoping for a turnaround, but they're killing a lot of teams fantasy wise.
In their defense, they are getting eviscerated by injuries. Like, they have lost so many people already this year, and it's nuts. I mean, Keenan Allen, I don't think's played since week 1. Big piece on offense there. They've lost a lot of defensive pieces, the offensive linemen that we just talked about. So maybe not all on the Chargers, but I get what you're saying. But also, they played a Jacksonville team that looks hot as fuck right now. So, I mean, -6 is definitely tough, though. That's a brutal number to have anywhere on your scoreboard.
Yeah, any negative number is just terrible to have. And like I said, he traded Kittle, he traded Connor. I know that. He traded Judy. So yeah, we'll look at that trades when we get there. But going to Lubasi, he had his best week of the year so far in this young season. And I'll let you kind of go over how his team is looking. Because you play him this week.
I think he took the advice that I gave him last week and the constructive criticism that I used, which was, I think, very politely delivered. And he turned it around a little bit. He put up his best score of the season, and guess what? He got himself a dub. So his team's looking a little bit better right now. I think he was also involved in a trade or two, so we will again touch on that a little bit later. So he finally puts up a good score and decides he's going to ship some people off to another team. Or did his trade go through already before this game started?
Yeah, both his trades went through. He got James Robinson for CeeDee Lamb and then Michael Pittman for Miles Sanders. So the two trade deadline or the two trade acquisitions netted him 30 points this week. And I think he's happy with those two trades right now, at least right now.
Yeah, well, and one of them was for CeeDee Lamb, so he did pretty well this week. He would have been in there somewhere too. And Gabe Davis dropped a touchdown. He could have had a pretty good score too.
Yeah, we were all together when Gabe Davis dropped that touchdown pass. But yeah, we'll see what he does with Russell. It's crazy to see how slow that Broncos offense is starting and just not looking great. He's got Burrow against you tonight in there, but it's just going to be interesting to see how Lubasi goes into that conundrum each week with Burrow versus Russell. He has the stack with Sutton.
Is he playing Burrow tonight?
Last time I checked, he was. So
this is going to sound funny when they listen to it because it's probably not going to come out till after the game tonight, or it's probably not going to come out till tomorrow. And then all this stuff we're saying is going to be from already happened. Yeah. And I got Higgins, which means Joe Burrow's throwing to him.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough to watch because you want Higgins. But every time Higgins scores, Burrow scores. But it's kind of more. I hate to have the quarterback more than the wide receiver, just because
I get more points.
Anybody, right? And the quarterback. I just throw it to Tyler Boyd, not freaking T Higgins. But
yeah, that's
anyway. We'll go to Johnny, who's actually a 3-0 team, versus Jeff. And I don't know. Johnny has looked really good. He's probably the worst 3-0 team that we'll talk about. But Devontae Smith had a breakout game. Marquise Brown is looking really good. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with DeAndre Hopkins back in a couple weeks. But the main thing with this team is now that the two running backs are out. I think I did read that Dalvin Cook is going to play in London this week, but we don't know about David Montgomery. The Bears are being very, secretive about that. They keep saying that he's day-to-day or week-to-week. I don't know. They keep saying one of the two. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think Dalvin dealt with this injury like last year or 2 years ago, and he actually played through it, and he didn't do too bad. But if, let's say, they both miss time, I mean, Devin Singletary and Raheem Mostert is not really the two running backs you would want as your running back 1 and 2. So Johnny's team is looking a little bit depleted right now, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does with that.
Yeah, and we got Rondale Moore coming back to the Cardinals this week. I believe he's playing. So, I mean, that's probably going to take a few targets away from Hollywood too. I don't know. This team, I guess, kind of getting a little bit less scary, especially for those two big injuries. And Deebo Samuel, a little bit of a surprise to me, has not been doing what I thought he would. He hasn't been getting as many rushing attempts, I feel like, as he was last year. I mean, the last 2 games he got 4 and 5, which feels kind of low. I feel like he was getting closer to double digits last year, and then 6 and 8 targets, pretty good. But I don't know. Is Jimmy G the best asset to have for Debo right now? Because last 2 games he hasn't really done a whole lot. Really all season.
Yeah, the last 2 games, Brandon Ayuk has actually been has more targets and has been operating the wide receiver 1. So I have him I played him last week and got me a touchdown. So I don't know. Yeah, the 49ers offense is a little bit of mystery. And they just put up a great 10 points against the Broncos. So that's going to be a question mark. Yeah, Debo is a huge question mark as well for Johnny. So yeah, Johnny's team is looking, I don't know. He's going to have to pull out some wins because his team is looking pretty bad in the next couple of weeks with the injuries and just the low performance on some of his top players. But
I personally think David Montgomery should just go ahead and sit this week out for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. The Bears are being a little crazy, or not crazy, but a little secretive. So it'll be interesting to see when the injury report comes out Sunday morning. Probably is when they'll actually do something. But we'll go to Jeff's team. How do you like Jeff's team right now? Look at all those single digits.
Lot of single digits. Jeff's team is just, honestly, I look at this and it just looks like a deflated team.
It's like the White Sox.
It looks, a team that just, I look at this and it's just like a team that has no energy. And we were just talking about how Debo's been kind of disappointing, but Justin Jefferson, maybe even a little bit more disappointing. I think he's put up 2 single digits now in a row. This week he puts up 2 points, didn't even crack 3 points. Last week he put up 7. So hasn't cracked 10 in 2 weeks. Had a huge week 1. Jeff was through the roof. He put up a pretty good score that week, but ever since, it's Justin Jefferson's been down, Jeff's been down, Brandon Cooks has been down. I mean, This, again, deflated. Jeff needs to bring the energy back to his team. I think he was involved in a couple trades that also went through and are currently sitting on his team now. So I don't know. If I'm Jeff, I got to bring the energy back to this team. I don't know. It just looks deflated. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, his top 2 his top 2 draft picks. Actually, I don't know was he his second round pick here? Yeah, so his top 2 picks, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, had 1 huge week. Aaron Jones with a 30-ball, week 2, single digits the other 2 weeks. Justin Jefferson, like you said, almost a 40-ball. I think it was a 36-ball. Week 1, and then single digits the rest. And then Brandon Cooks has been a disappointment. Josh Jacobs is on the field a lot, but he hasn't really been doing that well. With the 4th round pick, you expect your 4th round pick to do a little bit better than what Jacobs is doing.
The highest scorer on this team was Derek Carr. Believe that.
I don't know. Yeah, Miles Sanders was the trade acquisition for Jeff. He got him for Michael Pittman, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. But I really did not like that trade. So, yeah, like you said, he needs to call some of these guys and start talking them up. I know Jeff's got everyone's number, so I don't know. It's going to be weird. Jeff's team was I really like Jeff's team, and I said that on the on my write-up this week, but his team just has looked not so great after destroying me by 20 the first week. So
I am not scared of that team, not at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. But a team that I am kind of scared of is Rudy's team. Until something happens with this starting lineup, his team looks really good. What do you think about Rudy's week 3 performance and just the performance all year?
Yeah, I mean, this guy is straight up taking all the words that we said about his team before the season, after the draft, shoving them right back in our face, fucking punching us right in the mouth with these high scores. I mean, he's on fire right now. He's on a roll. And the last couple of weeks I had talked about how it seemed like one of his tight ends would go off, the other one would suck, and then vice versa. Well, this week he gets almost 40 points out of those tight. Well, he did get 40 points with the decimal. 40 points out of the 2 tight ends, which I think that is that strategy right there paying off the way that I'm sure he hoped it would. And then he's got Jalen Hurts, who's having just an insanely great season. Not quite like Lamar, but great season nonetheless. So, I mean, this and Jonathan Taylor, we talked about it last week. He hasn't really done that much yet. And this team is still this good. Like, and he's got a 1 in his RB2 spot. His RB2 sucks. He's still putting up 120s. Like, this team, yeah, I'm a little bit nervy about this team. I hope some things change by the time I see this, or I get some good bye week breaks, because this is a powerhouse right now. Rudy's a force to be reckoned with, and you got to admit that until it stops. There's nothing else you can say.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, the one thing about Rudy's team that is a weakened point is the depth and the RB2. You can tell that this RB2 is going to be a problem with him all year long. He's got Darrell Henderson, Kenneth Walker III, James Cook, and J.D. McKissick to choose from, and those running backs just don't scream touchdown machines or something that you want to try to do as the RB2. So it'll be interesting. Michael Thomas is coming off an injury. I think it's his toe. So we'll see if he plays.
Also, Jameis Winston is, I believe, questionable.
Yeah, so exactly. And so that part, wide receiver 2, could also be a problem with him because he has Darnell Mooney. I think he just dropped. And then Julio Jones, I think he's coming back this week too, but who knows what's going to happen when I think Godwin's playing too. So you got Evans, Godwin, Jones, so you don't know how big he's going to be in that offense. So I don't know, there's some cracks in Rudy's team, but like you said, until it's proven otherwise, this team is probably the best team in the league right now. But another team that hasn't really performed that well that I actually really like is Jimmy's team. I really do like this team. I think once Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks actually start scoring points, this team is really good because we talked about the Cooper Kupp and Brown 1-2 punch. So let's see here. Kupp is number 2 ranked, and then Brown is 4 ranked. So 1 and 6 versus 2 and 4. Very close. I don't know. I like the team because A.J. Dillon, Cam Akers came alive this week. You got Drake London, who is looked really good in that Falcons offense. And then you got Jamal Williams, who's going to be benefited with the DeAndre Swift injury for a couple weeks. So I don't know. I think Jimmy's team is very underrated to be 1 and 2, and I think he's probably one of the better teams in the league, if I'm honest.
Man, I actually have to respectfully disagree with that. I do not feel super confident in Jimmy's team right now. I think Tom Brady is gearing up to maybe drop probably his worst season yet. That could be because he's had some injuries on the offense, but I mean, I've watched a couple of the Bucs games and their offense is so boring. Like, I don't know. I don't know about that Bucs offense and the fact that he has the QB and the RB1. I don't know. I am not on this team like you are. I do agree. His 2 wide receivers, great. Both top 5, obviously, like you just said. That's great. But the rest of this team, I don't know. I'm not scared of this one right now. So I got to disagree with you, but we'll end up seeing who's right.
Yeah, and it will. I mean, the Bucs hasn't looked good, but I think I would bet more on Tom Brady to turn it around. And Fournette hasn't got a touchdown this year, and that's usually was his calling card last year. So if that Tampa Bay offense turns it around, which I think they will, I think Jimmy's team is a top-tier team.
You got to think, though, like Tom Brady keeps coming back. There is going to be a last season for him, and he's probably going to suck in it because he's been dragging this out for so long. This might be that year.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's all I'm saying.
42?
That's all I'm saying. He might suck now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he'll get his receiving core out this week, and he's playing Mahomes. So that's going to be a pretty telling that should be a high-scoring game, at least for him because the Chiefs' defense isn't that great, but Tampa's pretty good. So it should be a close-knit, I would say, high-scoring-ish game. But anyway, we'll go to a team that has looked scary again, who's also 3-0 in Nick's team. And I would debate maybe this team is better than Rudy's team. They're 1 and 2 in the point standings. But I think I would still take Rudy's team to edge him out for the remainder of the year. That running back core is just not good. Kamara has looked very bad this year. Clyde Edwards didn't even get a rushing yard, I think, last week. Yeah, he got 0 rushing yards, but he got a touchdown.
Saved by the tutty.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevens actually played more snaps than him last year, but I said that's going to be a 50-50 split. But I don't know if you really are confident in Damian Harris as much as you should be, because then he doesn't have another running back on the bench. So, but I do like Nick's team. Nick's team is very good. I think that running back tandem, or just the 3 running backs, is going to hurt him when the season kind of goes on. What do you think?
Yeah, but he's got Keenan Allen down there that he can throw in the flex, or put Lazard in the flex, and he can play around with those running backs too. So I think, like you said, might be an edge scarier than Rudy, just because he has a little bit more depth maybe on the bench. But I think as far as like how the games are going, at least right now, Rudy's team is just edges him out a little bit. But we'll see. I was going to say, when we were talking about Rudy's, I think an interesting test for him is going to be when bye weeks start rolling around, and we'll see if that fire is still lit up for him. But no, I think Nick's team's really good too right now. He's been putting up some good scores. He's 3-0, and yeah, this is definitely a team to keep an eye on. Josh Allen just continues to wreck, and I think that's going to continue to carry Nick's team for a while, especially if these running backs can't figure it out.
Yeah, and I think A.J. Brown has been a really good pick. I think he was a 3rd-round pick, but he's looked very good on the Eagles. I was actually staying away from him this year, 4th-round pick, just because he was really not healthy last year, and then I didn't know how Jalen Hurts was going to play with all these receivers back. But yeah, good team for Nick, 3-0. I think he plays Johnny, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the 3-0 teams, 2 of the 3-0 teams are going to be playing against. I think it's Nick and Johnny. But then we'll go to Dom's team, who actually play this week, and he made a couple big trades, so some of these players won't be on his team anymore. But Dom's team, I said it in the write-up, and I got to say it again just because it's just fascinating to me. His tight end combined in 3 weeks has scored less than 3 points, which is just absolutely crazy to me. I mean, that is just something you don't see every day. He got a goose egg the first week. He got 0.8 the second week, and then 1.2. So he scored a whole 2 points in 3 weeks. I mean, that's a struggle spot. But he does have Kittle now. He got Kittle from James, so he should not have to worry about this tight end spot any longer. But he's got to be frustrated with that. That is just so frustrating. I would question everything if that happened to me. And I'm trying not to make fun of Dom, but that's just so crazy to me that happened.
You know, as a guy that also struggles with his tight end spot, I feel his pain. I also had a goose egg week 1. Haven't quite been as bad as 2 total points through 3 weeks, but I feel Dom's pain there on the tight end spot. So hopefully that trade, he doesn't have to sweat that position anymore. So hopefully he can move his attention elsewhere. But honestly, I think this was Dom's best week for his team. Is that right? Is this his highest score so far?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I mean, he had a pretty good week. Derrick Henry finally went off like a Derrick Henry game. And Kyler Murray just hasn't looked great this year. If Kyler Murray putting up normal, like his last year numbers, I think this team looks a little bit better. But Kyler Murray feels like, he just hasn't really done a whole lot this year. Put up a 25, and that's his best score. I mean, I guess that's pretty good, but
he's done a lot better than I thought.
Yeah, he hasn't, if you actually watch those games, he hasn't looked super great. Right. And that Raiders game, I mean, they were down, the first 3 quarters, they looked like dog water. And then in the 4th quarter, the Cardinals decided they were going to start playing football, and they came back and won that game. But, I mean, Kyler just hasn't looked great this year. Hopefully Dom's trades, I don't know who else he got, but we'll look at that after this, but hopefully those trades help him out. He did put up a pretty decent score this week, but unfortunately he was playing Nick, who put up a better one. So tough week, tough loss for Dom with 104, 0-3. Hopefully he can get his first dub this week.
Yeah. Do you know much time we have left on the stream?
Yep. We got 5 minutes. So perfect.
All right. So yeah, we'll kind of go a little bit quick through this just because we don't want to cut the stream off. But here's the trades. The first trade happened last week. I think the first 2 or 3 happened last week. We got CeeDee Lamb for James Robinson. I think Lubasi was really just sick of ETN not doing well, and he was seeing James Robinson get literally every carry and every catch. So he went out and got James Robinson. and he paid a hefty price. I think this is a big overpay for James Robinson. It worked okay week 1 or week 3, just because Robinson did a 19 ball. But with that coming back, I think CD is going to be catapulted to like a top 15, top 10 kind of wide receiver every week. So I don't know. I think this was a big overpay, but Lubasi really wanted James Robinson, and that's who we got.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he might have gave up a little too much, but I think he had the pieces to at least fill the hole from losing CD, and he got a pretty quality running back. At least, and he also already had the handcuff just in case something bad happens there. So, I mean, loses a receiver but gains a running back. Running backs has been pretty hard to come by this year. So, not a terrible trade either way. I don't think it was like super lopsided. I agree. I think he overpaid just a little bit, but I think overall it helps both teams out pretty well.
Yeah, and I think the reason why he did trade CD was because of his next trade. He got Michael Pittman and Melvin Gordon for Miles Sanders. I think this was a big overpay for Miles Sanders. I'm not really too hype on Miles Sanders. He did have a good first 2 weeks, but I don't know. Just he's not consistent enough, and I think – and I'm really high on Michael Pittman. I said in the first power rankings I did after the draft, I think Michael Pittman can be a top 5 wide receiver in the whole league. So I really do not like this trade.
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know what Jeff's infatuation is with Miles Sanders, but he freaking loves the guy. Had him last year, and he put up, I think, a stinker this week. And I know he put up single digits because Jeff's whole team did. Yeah, 4.9. So, I don't like this trade either. I think he should have held on to Pittman for dear life unless he got a way better deal. Someone should have had to overpay for Michael Pittman and you don't want to overpay for Miles Sanders. I think Lubasi takes that one. Hopefully Miles Sanders can turn it around after last week to help Jeff out, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of stock in Miles Sanders, so.
Yeah, I don't either. So we'll go to the next trade, which is kind of a smaller trade. Michael Carter for Rashad Bateman. And I think James actually wins this one. I think Rashad Bateman's a little bit better than Michael Carter, but it is a running back. But Breece Hall is getting more involved in that offense, running and pass catching. So I think Michael Carter is going to start seeing less carries and less pass catch attempts as the season goes on, because Breece Hall has looked very good with the opportunities he's gotten, and he's just going to get more opportunities, I think. So I would say Rashad Bateman is probably the better player here, but this is a pretty even swap. I don't think there's a winner or a loser on this one.
Yeah, short-term outlook, I think Michael Carter probably looks better. Long-term outlook, I think maybe Bateman, but we'll see. If there's a lot of players in that Ravens offense, it's good. So hard to get the ball spread around a whole lot.
All right, and then we got the big trade. I think we only had
1 minute and 30 seconds.
All right, so let's not talk about these last 2 trades because we're going to get cut off, and there's a lot to talk about in these 2 trades. So we actually might save these for the next podcast, just because I think these 2 trades coming up that we will talk about has a lot of moving pieces. So we're going to wait on this one. I'll probably put the ones I haven't on Facebook here today or tomorrow. So I'll let Ryan close the podcast because there's no way we'd get this done in 90 seconds.
Yeah, maybe we'll, if we got some time at some point next week, maybe we'll drop just a special quick little trade episode and get that out. But otherwise, we'll just tack it on to next week's recap. But yeah, that'll do it for week 3. Super excited that the season's underway. It's been fun, even though I've been not doing great. You got any closing thoughts?
Nope, the game's about to start. Or I think the game has started, so let's wrap it up.
All right, that's a week 3 recap for you boys. We'll catch you guys next week for week 4 recap. Peace.